Hi, folks, and welcome to Film Optimists, where we talk about all things film with a healthy dose of optimism. I'm your co-host, Seth Boyd.
I am Megan Tierney.
And we capped the dream guest, the one we've been trying to get on since episode 1.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite people, right? This is Megan. Why do you say a few things about this before we introduce who the guest is? This is not just my dream.
No, I completely remember. It's certainly my dream too, literally, because a little background for you folks is that Film Optimist started with a little like precursor episode between us three that are sitting here right now, which is me, Seth, and the amazing Anne, his beautiful wife. And we are so excited to have you. And we've literally been like banking on you, like coming on this podcast. So we are so happy you're here. You are certainly a part of this like podcast process for us. Absolutely. So welcome to Anne.
Thanks, guys. We can finally check that box.
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
It's all down from here. It's all down from here.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Sorry to our other guests, but Anne's just going to be the best. Like that's just the way it's going to be.
Well, and we're here to talk about another first for us is talking about
Yes, that's right.
that it's still going to be in theaters by the time this episode comes out. This is Jordan Peele's Nope.
Yes.
I think we were all three very excited about this movie coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Before we dive in, I think we were all familiar with Key and Peele prior to Jordan Peele, the director, right?
Yeah. I was briefly, I would say, but up until his
more
like
of a horror director to you, was it like a transition for you, Megan, or was it, do you associate him more as the director?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think I've talked about it a little bit before, but Get Out is a important movie for me. I remember it was a big turn in like my cinematic wheelhouse, I guess, if you will, because I had never seen something so unique. And also, which I think we're going to talk about a little bit too, is that it was one of the best theater going experiences that I literally ever had. So it brought back that sense of cinema going and stuff like that. And it's just a really important one for me. So I was impressed from the start, have seen everything. Of course, this is his third film that's come out, Jordan Peele's. And I'm just really excited to talk about it. Seth and I have not discussed the film at all since it came out, which was hard because we were both excited about it. And we saw it opening day.
Sent each other texts about the same time saying we have to hold it till the podcast. And,
yes. So this is it. I'm very curious. I'm truly curious. But that's all I will say for now about it.
I will say, I think I have been, on the note of Anne being the dream guest, been trying to get my lovely wife on the show since almost day one. And this was the one that's like, yes, I'm going to talk about that, because after we saw it, we were both, I think, very excited to talk to somebody.
Beautiful.
Let's dive in. It's the third film. It's a great film. I'm just going to come out and say I loved it.
Good.
If we have strong opinions, Megan, did you dislike it? Did you like it? What do you think?
My like hot take is it's a 3.5 for me out of 5.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's what I'll say for now.
And where does it land for you?
Ooh, I would give it pretty close to 5 stars.
Okay.
That's good.
Maybe just flat out 5 stars. Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So, in case it's not obvious, folks, this is going to be a very spoiler-filled episode. I'll just do a quick synopsis and we're going to dive in. This is an alien movie, and the main characters have a horse ranch specifically for Hollywood, as in like trained animals that are in movies. The movie begins with the father, the patriarch of this family, dying very bizarrely. Just items are falling out of the sky, keys and other strange things, and he's killed by this falling object. It's a very disturbing opening. And then it basically becomes more clear that there is actually an alien in their home that's taking residence near their ranch. And the remaining family, the brother, played by Danny Kaluuya, and sister, it's Kiki Palmer, who are great,
Yes.
decide this is actually their chance here, because ranch wasn't doing great financially, and they're not doing great without dad trying to make this business going. So we're going to get the money shot. We're going to get the perfect shot of alien footage and sell it. So this turns pretty quickly into a kind of hustling movie. We're trying to get the gig, trying to chase the dream, but also doing something ridiculously dangerous. And of course, who do you trust to help you catch the alien? So
Right.
that's the
Mhm.
gist. We'll get into spoilers, but that's the foundation for the film.
Absolutely. Yeah. I went into it completely blind. I don't know how much, besides the trailer and stuff, you guys knew about it, but I didn't know even that it was set in LA or
Mm,
like, about film making in
right.
general. So like, total surprise for me, and happy surprise, I'm sure, for you too, Seth. Like,
Yes.
having been behind the scenes of film, it's like, oh, we get that cringe factor of it too, which they touched on nicely, like throughout it. That was
Yeah,
kind of fun.
this movie is largely about Black history in film, and like they talk about what is widely considered, and I think is the very first film, which is it 2 seconds of footage of a black jockey, and that thing that they talk about is real. That's a real first film. This was I think those two guys were having a bet, right, about whether or not horses fully suspend their legs. Remember that?
I think so. Yeah.
So basically, this was to settle a rich guy's bet. But
Mm.
a photographer, figured out how to set cameras up in place where it would show like a film of a horse running, and part of the world is these characters who run the business are descendants of this unfortunately unknown early hero, the first stuntman, the first action star, the first leading man in film history, and we don't know his name, which
Wow.
is sadly true, but the film has
Right.
it as their descendants.
Nice. Well, I'd love to like sing its praises. Do you guys want to
Sure.
talk a little bit about what stood out to you, I guess?
Sure, and I'm happy to hear.
Yeah.
Megan, did it feel lacking to you compared to Us and Get Out, or did it, like in
So
Jordan Peele's movies, or was it something just
so
off?
that's a part of it for me, definitely. I'll talk a little bit too, like why Get Out was so important, stuff like that for me. And hopefully get into all of it later. But yeah, I think that it also may just not be the favorite genre of mine,
Okay,
sci-fi aspect of it. However, there's so many things that I, of course, want to praise, and it was very surprising. Like, it turned so differently, which I'm sure it did for many people, and it was kind of like just a shocker in terms of what transpired, especially like having these preconceived notions of like a Jordan Peele film, which I kind of
right,
had
right.
going into it, which was a little bit more twist filled, which this has. I don't know. It was kind of like funny because I can't quite pinpoint it, but I'm happy to talk about it. But like I said, like there's so many things to praise about it, so I'd love to start there too if you guys want
Great.
to.
One thing I think is interesting, and maybe this would touch on kind of what you're saying.
Hmm.
Some of the articles I've been reading about, after seeing it and kind of getting to digest it, have pointed out kind of this very Spielberg feel to the movie with the
Hmm.
scale and the pacing and the action and kind of the twists and turns and some of the kind of character tropes that are in there.
Yeah.
And I liked it about that. I thought that was really ambitious and really fun. But I know that's not everyone's favorite flavor of movie.
Sure.
So,
Right, or if it is your favorite movie, you're not wanting the distortion of it.
yeah,
You're not wanting a more
Maybe.
twisted Jordan Peele version of
Close Encounters.
and we should back up and say there's
Yes.
as if all of Jordan Peele's, but now we begin with some disturbing images of animals, right? Because doesn't
Yes.
the deer being killed? Us has
Uh. Oh
It
yeah.
has the
Yeah.
mounted deer. That's
Mhm.
right. Us has the rabbits,
Mhm.
and this has Gordy, a chimpanzee.
The most terrifying thing.
Yeah, which and this is inspired by some real things that did not happen on a sitcom, but chimpanzees are terrifying, folks, and this movie reminds you of that. It begins with what is a sitcom set, and it appears something horrible has happened. And if you know anything about chimps, you know what's happened is the chimp has gone kind of crazy and it's killed the cast members. And you have this image keeps getting conjured back, and you have this great ET reference of this little boy putting his hand towards the chimp, much like Alien and ET touching each other, except it's much more horrifying. It's not the good alien, it's the blood-soaked chimp who just killed several human adults. So
Oh yeah.
you have that as the most direct image distorting the Spielberg while also weaving into it. I can understand that being those movies are a lot of people's childhoods. So
Sure. Yeah. I even like missed those references a little bit, but the feel of it, certainly I agree with you, Anne. Like that was all there. I had heard the thing about like Close Encounters too, which
Mhm.
Right.
which I do see that for more like very distinct parallels, I guess. I was like, I can identify that, but
Mhm.
but
it is fun that the alien should we address the spoiler at this point? I mean, the big twist.
I know.
I think we should.
That's a part of it.
Do you want to do the honors?
Jean Jacket, my new favorite monster. Yes. But yes, I personally don't like the style of watching a movie where I'm trying to outsmart it and trying to like anticipate where it's going to go. But it was still such a fun twist of it is not a ship. It is in fact a single organic creature that is not being piloted by sapient life forms.
That's
it is
right.
just a creature that is not exist on a morality scale. It's just an animal, and it seems a little pissed off.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, it's very go ahead. Sorry, Megan.
Sorry. It's just that it very quickly turned into a classic monster movie, like
Mhm.
right then and there. It almost felt akin to like The Lighthouse a little bit, where and we kind of don't see the monster there, but here we do, and it was such a twist.
Right. And I think once that's figured out, we have predator animal rules. I don't mean predator the movie, but like this is a predator being, and all of its behavior makes a lot more sense. This is its territory, you know.
Right.
And I want to preface this too and say that Seth and I accidentally pre-gamed this movie by watching the pilot for Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yeah.
Which, if you haven't seen it, has our darling captain Jean-Luc Picard struggling with what to do with what appears to be an alien spacecraft firing on a planet, and you find out later it is not a spacecraft. It is a very magical, benign jellyfish-like creature that's just huge, rescuing another benign jellyfish-like creature that has been captured, and they're reunited and they hold tentacles at the end, and it's peace and love in the universe and very good. And this was not that
was the
at
opposite
all.
Of that. Yeah. But
Yes.
we literally watched it,
Yeah.
I think, the same day.
It was,
So it was
the day before we watched that, and it was like, oh, wait a minute. I think I know what's happening here.
Yeah, which is funny if you've seen a piece of media, regardless of how we would think removed from the movie before you watch it, you're connecting those dots, which we were, I think.
Oh yeah.
Which I know Seth and I both really like sci-fi, and I particularly like alien adjacent fiction is very fun, and it's always fun to see like, okay, are we going to do malicious intelligent aliens? Are they going to be benign? And I do really enjoy this kind of neither direction of, oh, it's just an animal, it doesn't have malice or kindness, it just is
right. It just
you're inconsequential.
So we should get into some of the cast here real quick. It's a great cast. So we have a few main characters here. We'll talk about them as they come up, but Daniel Kaluuya is OJ Hayward. He's the lead character, with Kiki Palmer, who plays his sister Emerald. And then I think next top billing is Stephen Yin, who plays Jupe, who is the little boy we see at the beginning of the movie, who is the star of this show or one of the stars of the show that has the chimp gone awry, who we see hiding under a table.
I don't think we see him at the beginning.
You don't think so?
No, it's just, I think the opening scene is strictly a POV. Remember, because I think it cuts with the chimp making eye contact.
Oh,
I think
that may be right, Anne.
You're right.
Horrifying, but we do see it. We see that exact scene later when it is young him, and he is.
It's revealed later on. Yeah,
it's revealed later.
Thank you. You're absolutely
of course.
But yeah, so it's revealed he is the little boy on this show, who experienced child star, and now has thought this strange kind of Western themed theme park pretty close to Haywood Ranch.
Yes.
And so Stephen Yeun's great. I'm always happy to see him. Everyone's really good in this movie. We can dive more as it gets in there. But I really loved the way his character plays out, as he is someone who experienced firsthand this horrible atrocity from monetizing spectacle, particularly an animal. And unfortunately is doing that. Is kind of to some degree not aware of that, but his show, he's trying to also make money off of this by having a show where he basically feeds a horse to the aliens. And we don't fully see this show go the way it's supposed to go. We see this show go horribly wrong. And so you were suggesting before we started, and like, is he giving himself benefit of the doubt of, oh, these are aliens who are sentient and are studying the horse or something like that? But like, I think we can give him some benefit of the doubt of not realizing how horrific what he's doing is, because he probably doesn't realize it's an animal either. But I did like the character who doesn't necessarily, it's very realistic that this is the lesson they learned from this, because they are famous because of this horrible thing that happened, not because the show was good. They're
Yeah.
famous because of this horrific incident, and when he talks about it, he just refers people to the SNL sketch that's very famous and viral about it, and
Yes,
is
that's
very
right.
closed off about actually describing, like, is someone who's also capitalizing on his own trauma, which I understand, and it's sad, and you don't necessarily feel like he's a con man. I think you're, at least I felt for him as someone who's trying their best to cope with something and is not doing well.
Oh yeah, I think the fake little cowboy town is like my part of my favorite
Mhm.
It's a great
part
set.
of it.
Yes.
It's very like obviously kind of like awkward, and just he has very zookeeper vibes
Yeah,
or like
yeah.
children's show character vibes.
Yeah.
That was I really like that part. I now that we're talking about it, it's actually making me realize more about that it is so connected to like performance mode
Mhm.
isms, I guess, and like being kind of a B-list star sort of thing. And that's
Yeah.
you're like trying to make a buck out of these little like sideshow performances is almost how it felt. Very circus like. That was fun.
Absolutely.
That's really fun.
Yeah.
And I really liked it because I think there's a moment where Kiki Palmer, and the impression I got from her character is she knows how to talk to show business people and butter them up and get them to like get them
Mhm.
talking about themselves.
Right.
But she points out, oh, you're the kid in that movie. And there's like some little Western. He was like the kid's movie.
yeah.
He was in.
That's right.
And it seems like, oh, that's what you're doing as an adult, is just like hanging on to that and trying to milk it.
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
Ooh, but it looked like a Disney Channel original movie or something like something
You know,
like
Oh,
I
yeah?
couldn't remember,
Yeah.
Was it supposed to be he's short round? Like that, the guy who was in I'm blanking on his name. He was in Everything Everywhere All at Once, and he was played a
Mhm.
not great in terms of stereotype role in the second Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah,
You know,
I thought of
because it was
that.
a poster kind of looked like a Spielberg
Yeah.
thing, but yeah, some
It
kind of
did.
Western adventure thing where he was
the Asian
the
kid.
Asian kid.
Which is also a great
Mhm.
commentary too of like, okay, who gets left in the dust, you know,
Right.
when these things become famous, and who has a career in acting afterwards, and who is kind of left to fend for themselves in terms of
I like that.
career.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
He may have been my favorite character almost. All of
Oh,
the
Stephen Yeun is
performances
so
were
good. Yeah.
were
There's
great.
Before I forget, the actor who's in Everything Everywhere All at Once and was short round is Kwan.
Yes.
Kwan.
Mhm.
He's great.
Yeah.
But no, Stephen Yen is fantastic in this
Mhm.
movie. He's been one of my favorite people to watch, and
Yeah.
he's great in this. And I think another favorite thing in this movie is sibling dynamics. They felt very
Mhm.
real to me.
Sure.
They never
Yes.
have the big blowout fight. Like he never says to his sister, "You're the one who left," and they are jabbing at each other constantly. Have very different
Right.
personalities. They also have a lot of sibling interrelation things. You know, they have them
Mhm.
very excited and having their ritual handshake fist bump thing. You know,
Oh yeah. That was
But you
fun.
can also tell like when they're ribbing, no one's hitting below the belt. No one's
Right,
actually hurting the
right.
other one's feelings. It's more just, what's her line about? Like, this is my side gig.
Yeah,
like, you know,
exactly,
it's
yeah.
it feels very
that's
real
true.
and very affectionate and grounded as like
Mhm.
adult sibling relationships. Yeah.
But also, I know that feeling of being with a sibling trying to accomplish a business thing that you're nervous about and having opposing.
That's very true.
It's always sunny episodes, you know, but having that like
Yes.
polar opposite approaches and how
Mhm.
awkward that is. But she's also right, you know, like you do butter the guy up.
Mhm. I agree. They're all like straight shot performances, which is
Right.
for me. I liked it. Like I liked that, but also I think for me, that was a part that I was surprised by, confused by. That Jordan Peele like chose to do. I think it just like Stephen Yeun, for instance. He was like my favorite character probably because he was like aiming on the most zany side of things, and they're so like straight shot, and I understand why they do it. It's almost just like I was really craving like the crazy UFO conspiracy person almost, especially in like a
Mhm.
Stephen Yeun performance, because I
Right.
think in everything I've seen he's just kind of like our comic relief, but and like very believable, and like you feel for him a lot.
Yeah.
But to see him like really go there, I thought would have been like super cool in my
That's
perspective.
fair. Yeah.
But
He's
yeah,
really
yeah, but-
disturbing in the Korean movie Burning.
oh, I didn't know he's in
great
that.
He's a great
Okay,
villain.
cool.
But no,
Cool.
you were
Mhm.
right, and I think we largely like he's a main cast of Two Converted. He's great in that, so like he's
Okay.
very funny.
Yeah, exactly. Mhm.
But yeah, the guy who's most into aliens is Angel, the tech salesman.
That's right. Mhm.
prize. But like Daniel is great in this movie, but he is much more reserved than anybody else.
He
He's
is.
clearly
He
like I like the animals. And you point this out. He's not creepy about it. He's not like special needs or anything. He just prefers to be around his animals, you know.
Well, it seems very to me like just out the gate, he's very much the classic Western. He's the strong, silent man of few words.
Mhm.
He doesn't need to be a showman. It's never been part of his job. Obviously, when you see him trying to like just control the room, trying to give a safety talk around the horse, he
Yes.
can't get anyone's attention. This is not his role. He does
Right.
not want eyes on him. He wants to just be able to do his job and
Yeah.
do his thing and just keep on trucking. And of course, in true Western tradition, is not allowed to do that.
Yes.
Has to ride in and save the day.
Yes.
But I think that's also just want to note, this is on the more obvious, like you have these characters who are by history and by occupation, literally their job is to take care of animals well. And so we have this great juxtaposition between the Haywards and everyone else who doesn't know how to deal with
Yeah.
the animal.
Mhm.
And ultimately, OJ's understanding of animals is what saves the day of figuring out that's a predator, you know.
Yeah.
Mm,
And
that's true.
there's this idea of kind of the exploitation inherent in the spectacle. And I'm sure PETA would disagree with me, but I don't think that domesticated animals with a job are exploited. I think they're domesticated animals with a job, and that's what his horses are, and that's his role as their
Sure.
handler, is to keep them safe
Right.
and well trained and long lived and happy, versus the clear juxtaposition with the chimp that is not a domesticated animal, should not have a job.
Right.
That's a
And
good
it
point.
goes horrifically wrong for everyone involved because it's for spectacle, it's not for purpose in a weird
Right.
way. I don't know if that
You
makes
very, you very much feel like the small business aspect of their family company and
Right.
stuff like
Mhm.
that, which that is a big difference between this animal, like you say, that's been exploited for Hollywood, especially like very cheesy Hollywood purposes. Like
Mhm.
that was fun too, to see the very 90s nostalgic of
Oh yeah.
I think it was said in the yeah, they said it was like late 90s and very, very over the top cheese factor there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like this movie raises interesting questions that are not plot holes.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
afterwards, we're being like, well, wait, how long did like Steven Yeun's character Jupe know about this? Because he's been buying horses for a while, you know. So he's been buying horses, and the horses nowhere to be seen for a while. So he's been doing this for a little bit. And, I think you pointed out, and this is kind of classic mistake people make in feeding animals.
Well, because when he's giving his presentation, it's clear that he believes that Jean Jacket is actually a ship and that there are aliens inside it that he refers to as the viewers, which I thought was funny because it's like, you know, he thinks, oh yes, they are watching us, but also we think of television viewers. We think of, you know, that mode of viewer, which
Right.
is funny that that's how he frames it. And he's got merch of them, and his kids are in the costumes for these aliens he's decided are in this vessel, unaware that, yeah, there's no other creatures. It's just Jean Jacket as a sentient, aggressive animal.
Right.
And yeah, kind of this classic, you know, we know he's been buying horses for this purpose, it's revealed. And it's like, oh, are you doing the like inadvertently, if you feed it, they'll never leave? Like you're leaving like bird seed out for the birds. You're like leaving cat food out for the stray cats unknowingly with feeding horses to this alien.
Yeah, you're attracting the cougar because you attract the deer.
Yeah.
And,
which I thought was a pretty funny aspect of like, yeah, this character seems to think, oh, maybe they're studying the horses or they're interested in horses, and not knowing, yeah, you're literally feeding an animal and making it want to stick around.
And I think I like about this movie is I didn't feel like Jordan Peele was judging this character for his ignorance.
No, you feel for him.
You definitely do, and like I feel for anybody trying to get a buck. So I get it.
Well, and just
That's
the
what it
last
felt
shot
like.
of him too, gazing up at the sky as the tornado swoops
And it's a great,
him up.
great shot.
But the exploitation thing is very interesting to me because I feel like we still do see stories pretty regularly about someone, usually in a national park, getting too close to wildlife and being harmed in the process. My mom, when she was a teenager or young adult in the 70s, worked at Yellowstone Park for a summer and heard all the stories from the rangers about, you know, stopping women from smearing honey on their kids' faces because they wanted a cute picture of the bear licking it off, and having to
Oh
explain,
my
like,
God.
that's not how that works. You cannot do this. Please don't do that. So she had like this wealth of anecdotes about this kind of, fortunately stopped in the nick of time, but fuck around and find out approach to nature that's still,
Wow.
I think, very present in the American psyche,
That's
treating
true.
like it's a petting zoo or they're not a real threat.
Mhm.
And I kind of appreciate that that was kind of highlighted in the movie with, obviously you have Gordy the chimp, but you also have the scene where OJ is on the set of, I think it's a commercial they're filming, and
Mhm.
the horse gets startled and kicks over like a bucket or something, but very close to where a person was
That's right.
standing. And it's definitely a moment of like, you know, it's a huge bummer for him because he wasn't able to be assertive enough to stop the prop person from startling the horse in time. And
Yes.
this is the gig for the day. It looks like they're wheeling in the like green screen fake horse.
That's right.
Will not be a danger.
Little Trojan horse.
Exactly.
Broomstick
there is
bucket.
Yeah. But there is that moment of like, okay, this is a horse. This is an herbivore. This is like an animal that's
Mhm.
used to being around humans, and it can still be dangerous and things can still go
That's
wrong.
fair. Daniel does a great job of just that straight, like, frustration, I guess, in that scene. That felt,
Yes.
you feel for him so much because, oh my God, just nobody's paying attention to this poor, like, man trying to, especially regarding safety. It's so weird that people
Yes.
just like don't give an F that like this big, big animal is in their presence and in very close proximity to people. So that's crazy to me. I feel for, I'm sure like people in the animal like industry felt that really hard, and
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad they brought that to the service. It should be highlighted, I guess.
Because it is such a tense scene where he has to keep saying like, please don't go behind him, like please don't touch him, like having to
Yeah.
tell adults to like pay attention and not put themselves
Mhm.
in danger around an animal that they're not treating as an animal, which is a recurring theme in this movie.
That's fun. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool that there's kind of also like a duality, I guess, because we've said this is a monster movie, and kind of the latter portion of the movie becomes just that. But the first portion is like we're dealing with understanding these animals. So it's
Yeah.
I think typically you don't see monster movies or animal movies where there's a good guy and a bad guy kind of thing, or
Yeah.
something going on. We usually try to demonize like animal behavior or something in
Mhm.
if they're trying to go for that horror effect, I guess, which is done a lot, like shark movies, stuff like that is what I'm thinking of.
Oh,
So
sure. You think of Jaws, you think of Jurassic Park, you know,
Jaws,
it's always,
exactly.
yeah.
So this was a really interesting duality, I guess, between the two. But obviously the monster in this is very otherworldly, so that kind of helps out, I guess. But
Yeah.
that's a good point.
Oh, what was your opinion of
Mhm.
the recurring shoe that we see
Oh,
in the flashbacks to Gordy and like
mhm.
enshrined in Jupe's trophy room? What
Absolutely,
was your
yes.
impression of that?
All of that was really fun. I mean, so that is part, I think part of that is the reason I was like, I felt a little disappointed by the end of it, because I agree with you. Like, I am a total UFO girl. Like, I'll watch whatever I can about aliens. I think they're very, very fascinating. And the movie 100% sets you up to believe that you're going to be seeing like an alien. I just feel like it was setting you up that there was going to be like some sort of reveal at the end, and that it was more obviously a traditional UFO film
Mhm.
in the beginning half. So all of that really, really like egged me on to believe that, and then it felt like a not, I understand why again, but it's almost like a bit of a letdown that it's just the gravitational pull of this like monster being, which I mean, I guess that's true of like the UFO itself, but it's really fun to play, and very like I find horrifying to play with images like that, and bending of our reality, which is what I like about UFO films and like the
Mhm.
horror aspect of it. So that's kind of like my take on it.
I liked it. I think for me too, the shoe, like I think we talked about this, Seth, the image of the shoe that's upright.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
kind of like
Mhm.
my first impression was kind of like, oh, this is like, is this an alien phenomenon that we're seeing? That there's
Right.
something not supernatural sci-fi, something happening.
Yeah.
But as we see kind of whose point of view that is and what character it's kind of relevant to, I think it might have been the LA Times article on it or another source I read. This is not an organic thought that I had, but made the point that so much of the movie is about documenting the situation. And as far as we know in the film, there's not like footage of the chimpanzee mauling.
Right.
We just have this character's memory, which is not a strictly real documentation of what's happening. It's this traumatized child, like his recollection of this. And like, was this like a thing that wasn't real that he fixated on that has just been burned into his memory during the trauma when he was trying not to see things? Or was this like another, what was the phrase, bad miracle?
Right.
Was there actually something weird happening? And that was like a hint that something is amiss.
Because I'll admit, like, I didn't dig that deep into it at first. I just thought this is a great, strange image on par with that. In Blue Velvet, there's famously a crime scene where someone who's been shot is still standing upright, you know, and like it's like a thing that is very, very unlikely, but possible. You know, is that there's still this odd object that is standing in a way that it shouldn't until it doesn't. And that was what I first thought was, you know, being referenced, but I don't think Anne's wrong. You know, I think I could not prove. We had a quick debate about can a shoe actually stand up like this, and I could not with my own shoe.
After theorizing and
experimenting. So, exactly. But no, I think it's I think it's like you said, there's so much about this is about documenting about who saw what and what they see. I mean, we have constant dialogue between the character Angel and everyone else about other UFO videos.
Sure.
They do not catch, you know, and that's a major thing throughout this. And
yes,
I do like this movie. Kind of posits the idea of all those people had a shitty camera, and
that's true.
It's real.
Yeah.
And the camera they installed was insane. I don't know.
Right?
I don't think that Fry's Electronics has that in stock. I really don't think so.
I also like that since you're playing, this dude's stealing this stuff, right? Which
maybe. That's funny.
I enjoyed the character.
I feel like everyone's met Angel.
Yeah.
Like at one point or another. Yes.
Oh yeah. At a Fry's specifically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking about the camera thing is very interesting too. Like, I think it's a running motif for Jordan, because in Get Out, the camera was used as like a way to document what he was seeing, but also it got them out of the state that they were in. If you've seen Get Out, like the sunken place, if you will. So like I think Jordan's mentioned specifically that, especially for like it's just like an important motif for him, like with Black actors and stuff like that, which is I didn't even realize that. That's pretty cool.
That's very cool.
And that's such a fun part of the movie too, of that's the Haywood story, is they're the descendant of the unnamed Black jockey who is in that first film.
Right.
And now they finally have something that they have their name on and that they own with capturing the alien on film.
Right.
And that was such a stressful point for me, because I know it's like, okay, it's a Jordan Peele movie. It might not have like the rewarding, like, they did it type ending.
Oh yeah. Right.
But it was so satisfying having that last photo slide out and you see she did get the shot and it's perfect.
Right.
And it's kind of funny too, seeing when Keke Palmer stands up, there are people milling around like near the crime scene. So not only has she got the photo, like the perfect moment of Jean Jacket attacking the balloon,
right,
but it looks like there are witnesses who are seeing something in the sky.
Yes,
and like
there's
people bearing witness to maybe not the exact moment, but something.
Right.
And she's got the documentation, and it's got her name on it. That's very fun.
Yeah, I agree. This is maybe the happiest Jordan Peele ending.
Despite all the death and misery.
And it's always a strange scale, because like Get Out, like he does get out, but it's, you know, it's still grim. Us is more complicated, but still very grim, you know?
Right. Like, and it ends grimly, even though it expands to the world.
Exactly. The protagonist is usually alive at the end of a Jordan Peele movie.
Yeah.
Thus far. But that doesn't mean everything's fine, you know? But it has had this optimism. I think going back to the Spielberg aspect of this seems like this is throughout it a lot more fun in a pure movie fun way than like Get Out and Us especially, I feel like the thriller aspect of the slasher thriller aspect of Us kicks in pretty quickly, where you're pretty excited and the audience was chanting about them fighting back. But
I agree.
Nope is fun in that we're watching this kind of ragtag crew come together to catch an alien in this kind of fun movie magic way.
Yes.
That is, and it's not that it's not horrifying from the beginning, it is, but there's pretty long stretches in a way that I liked, where we're just watching a ragtag group hang out, and that's always fun.
Sure.
I think another thing that felt very, like you said, movie fun, Spielberg, is after we have this opening scene of the Gordy's home set, which again cuts on, I think, the chimp like making eye contact with the camera, which is like, don't like that. But then we have OJ kind of starting his chores in the morning,
right?
And he's got the radio on, and we hear the newscaster rattling off kind of, I think we hear like little snippets of weather, and then we hear a snippet about the search for missing hikers being resumed today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And it felt, once we see kind of how his father, Otis, Keith David, always a beloved cameo. I'm so happy to see him in anything.
Yeah.
His death, I think it's like change and keys and like some small objects.
The keys really stuck with me. The keys stand up
and
vertically.
I think that was a very fun foreshadowing of, those hikers are not coming back. I think that was their stuff that was
that's a good little Easter egg.
Yeah. But that felt very Spielberg, of like leaving little breadcrumbs like through the story about what's happening. Yeah.
That's true. And it's not, the monster didn't just eat him up. It's like the gravitational pull of objects is what like ultimately did it, which is, that's fun. That's fun.
Yeah. And I don't think we've got into this yet, but one of the great images of this movie where they finally realize they've caught something is a cloud that doesn't move, which they realize is shrouding this vessel. And I apologize if we already said this, but I love that the vessel, which ends up being a creature, is for most of the movie just a straight up flying saucer. It is just Roswell, Day the Earth Stood Still,
recognizable
flying saucer,
which is a very fun, like, the characters sort of think maybe they know what they're dealing with and have no idea what it actually is.
And that's not necessarily a form it takes in disguise. It's a creature, so it kind of spreads its wings.
Right.
Well, it reminded me of,
that's a way to say it.
Because I saw one kind of little like review of the movie, which was glowing and very happy, but described it as like the creature's actual form or like its real form.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it like that. I saw it as like its little saucer, not little, but the saucer shape is its kind of default. And then I don't know, it reminded me of like a frilled lizard or like a cuttlefish changing colors. It's like a threat display where it makes itself as big and scary as it possibly can.
I think you're
with the like flashing metallic streamers too. That's what it reminded me of like, this is a very pissed off big animal that is trying to be as scary as possible.
I agree. That's what it read for me, and I think the reviewer just played Legend of Zelda a lot, where you have a Ganon's true form.
Oh wow. I went with my partner and he mentioned, he had a great point. He thought it was like, it reminded him of like biblical angels where they're very weird and like geometric and godlike in that sense. But it was interesting too that it was kind of feminine, if you will, in nature. I thought it was kind of resembled female form and like flowers, lotuses. So
it's very like organic.
Yes, organic's a good word for it. I was just like very out of box, and the saucer looks amazing. That part always looked really, really good. Sound design, I also have to say, like, I think that I needed to see this in theater because of like sound design. I don't think I would have had the same reaction if I were to watch it at home or like on my laptop, God forbid, which is a bad habit that I keep like doing now. But I think viewing this in film is going to be in theaters, should be a necessity. At least for me, if you don't have a good like sound system, good enough sound system. So I don't know. It was pretty crazy to see the choice that they made in the final form of the monster. We were just like shocked. We couldn't believe it.
Did it feel out of left field? Did it feel fun or just shocking to you?
It felt I think it felt a little out of left field. I was sort of waiting for that Jordan Peele twist a lot throughout it, and I was kind of itching to see the one an alien.
Right,
I
right.
wanted my alien. I thought things were about to get crazy in that really great scene where the kids are in the barn.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
That was
That was a good prank
that
to
was
play
good.
on the audience, I
yeah,
think.
that was still very disturbing. Yeah.
But even that, I was like, dang it! Like once it was over, I was I was like kind of pissed off that it wasn't actually the aliens. But
Yeah.
so I don't know. There were many moments where I think they were kind of like dragging us on with what we know, I guess, and what we were trying to expect, and then to flip it like this was very, very unique. I'll give it that.
Yeah, I think you are expecting, and I think this movie is overtly political, just like every Jordan Peele movie, but I think you are kind of waiting for another foot to drop in terms of the alien's racist or something, or something else of being more like the alien is a government designer, like something that is a little bit more real world. I'm with you there, and I was kind of expecting that, but I don't think the movie needs it because it is talking about real world social things from the get-go. And again, so much of the theme is this is a family that should be all accounts be Hollywood royalty. They should have their mansions and their hills, just like other people, just like white people have been in Hollywood since that long, but they don't. They don't have that. Their history has not been for them. They don't have the generational wealth like the white folks do, especially in Hollywood. So.
But I do like the turn the movie makes in making that decision of Jean Jacket as an animal, because that's OJ is the first one to figure it out. I think it's him who says like, oh, that's not a ship. And he's the one who pieces together like this is a recognizable pattern of behavior that lines up with my personal experience of, as an animal handler, how I know animals behave. And he's the one who pieces that together from an experience that the movie tells us is like becoming increasingly undervalued.
Right.
With his skill as a horse trainer. And I think that's fun that's becomes the vital thing that helps them survive.
And apologies for I said this, but it basically comes out, but he figures out it doesn't eat you unless you look at it. And this is the same way that he's telling people don't look a horse in the eye. And so, and I one thing I really like about this is you have Stephen Yeun characters, Jupe, who brings his own personal experiences to this and guesses inaccurately as to what to do with it. Yes. And then you have OJ who guesses accurately, and both of them are using their personal real world experience of how to approach a problem. Just OJ has the right experience to apply to the situation.
Yeah, he's a very subtle protagonist, but very clear, nonetheless. So that's kind of the feeling I have for majority of the performances. Keke Palmer was very, very our outgoing character, so that's fun. But yeah, I really was craving that Stephen Yeun went a little crazy with his UFOisms.
And I don't think any characterization was wrong, but I fully understand what you're saying about wanting something a little bit more who's the friend who's the ATF guy and Get Out?
He's
having a little bit more fun in that movie,
Right.
I
think the actor is Lorraine Howard.
Elizabeth Olsen and Tim Heidecker being the worst fucking couple, And
it's a delight.
You have some people able to go for it a little bit more of a strange way. And this one you get Angel and you get the cinematographer who's just this strange.
That's true.
Guy.
Which seems like such a fun level of going back to the spectacle. This is the highest level of spectacle. He's the respected cinematographer. He is the enshrined respectable artist, and he still ends up killing himself to get the perfect shot.
Which
is very funny to me.
So I love that too, because he's a person Hollywood people know, but we first see him doing a commercial. He's not doing a Spielberg movie.
That's right.
He probably has in this universe. But he's also doing nature documents, and he's doing commercials, and these are not bad gigs. I think that kind of speaks to. I wonder if to some degree, Jordan Peele was making some commentary you could be the best cinematographer in the world, and you're still gonna have to do a commercial, And I don't know if that's actually true. I don't really know enough about the industry to that level, but I like the detail about he's brilliant, but he's not a household name,
Sure.
I was gonna say, and just him meeting basically the same end for the same reasons as the TMZ reporter.
That's true.
Oh, that's true.
But
Oh
yeah,
my God.
It's all vanity.
yeah.
Yeah, I think there was like a lot of, I think that was meant for comedy, right? Like
Oh,
how,
for sure.
again, like I said, like B character, all of these people are, and in their specific fields, and then because I
Right.
think the reveal of TMZ was very overly dramatic, like, oh my God, guys, it's TMZ, and like that's our big
Hilarious, yeah.
Mhm.
arch nemesis who you're almost set up with his mirrored like helmet to think that he's an alien or something,
Right.
like kind of cool.
Mhm.
So that if we read it that way, that actually makes it a little better for me, because I think some of it can be looked at as a little like pessimistic almost about Hollywood in general, and maybe that's kind of the vibes that I was feeling. I don't know. Yeah.
Sure.
Mhm.
No, well, on that note, Megan, not that
Mhm.
we have to change your mind, but you said 3.5. I think I'm very happy to hear some of the things that didn't quite work for you, or
Sure.
confusions, disappointments, etc.
Talking with you guys, it's helping. It's doing me. I think before I went in with a lot of expectations, not about the movie, but about my like Jordan Peele going experience in general, I guess. And I felt very, very like strong connections to the characters in both of his previous films, and thought they were like super solid, like very kind of straightforward, like I said. And this one I do like, I cared for the characters, but it just wasn't as much. Like Angel's kind of like a dick like for
Right.
part of it, and the director is like insane and not that fun. And then Stephen Yeun, like I said, like I was craving like a little bit more like I thought he was one of my favorite parts, like I said, but it's a little like lackluster almost. It was too like straight shot of what an alien movie, I guess, like could be,
Sure.
Mhm.
or monster movie, which we've talked about. So I think that's kind of the feeling that I was feeling towards the end of it, I guess. But
Yeah,
it's
fair enough.
certainly
Mhm.
a like visual spectacle for sure.
Yeah.
I just want to say that I like Jean Jacket a lot, and I was so freaked out viscerally when you finally kind of are able to see it up close, and it's very clear that it's not
Yes.
made of metal. It looks like mushroom skin or like
Hmm.
a stingray skin or something. Just
Yeah.
that like
Oh
very
God.
specific organic element with like that little divot in the front. It just looks
Absolutely.
very uncanny and very creepy in a very fun way, and I like
Mhm.
that design a lot. That's all.
Absolutely. I also
Oh,
just want
please.
to note Michael Abels, I believe. Abels is the composer for this movie, who's done the other two Jordan Peele movies. And I thought the score
Wow.
for this was fantastic.
Oh my God, yes, it
I thought that
was.
was great,
Yes.
classic horror score. Like, this is someone who I think definitely has Bernard Herrmann, who did most of the most disturbing Hitchcock scores
Sure.
in mind, who had The Shining and all the other great classic horror movies. All the scores have been fantastic, and I'm happy to see that Jordan Peele is someone who's working not just with the same crew on screen, but behind the scenes with
Yeah,
the
that's
composer,
true.
and like
Mhm.
building this relationship. I'm excited to see what he does next, because I think the Daniel Kaluuya character OJ is a much more reserved character than we've seen him play previously, and he's great in it. And I think when
Right.
we're used to this young, handsome, full of energy actor playing a character this reserved, it's a little disappointing. But I think 10 15 years from now, when they've made more movies together, he's made more movies, we're going to really look at this role differently.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Mhm.
I kind of said like all the performances were great given what the script was like for all
Right.
of them. So they stayed in their lane in that way. But I think it was like I was itching to see, because I love Daniel Kaluuya too. He's incredible, and so like to see him so straight is interesting.
Mhm.
No, absolutely. Oh, so one symbolism thing that came to my mind that I wanted to mention. So during the grand climax, when they get the shot, and this is a very orchestrated thing that we won't get too much into, but it basically involves Daniel is having to run out on a horse to get the attention of Jean Jacket. He's
Yes.
wearing, and he's been wearing Carhartt most of the movie, which is great because we see Carhartt every day out here in
Mhm.
Wisconsin, regardless of weather.
Oh yeah.
It's
He's
work
wearing
clothes, yeah.
real ranch worker clothes, but he's wearing the orange hoodie from Scorpion King, which he has this great moment with his sister Keke Palmer earlier, talking about like there was a horse she was really excited about getting, and then Dad had to take that horse to a job, and the job was Scorpion King. And yeah, that's right there.
Real quick, it was specifically he was going to teach her to train that horse,
Right.
and kind of bring her into the family business, and then ended up just not doing that. And we see her memory of OJ is training the horse, and that being such a moment that she's hung on to. Yeah.
Right. And it kind of comes out that the movie went with camels instead of horses, so it wasn't even worth it in the sense of like this devastated his sister and wasn't a good business decision. I like that he's wearing that hoodie of this kind of failed project for them, because like we don't really get the sense that even when Keith David is alive, who's got these relationships, that the business is great, you know.
Right.
And that movie is, you know, what, 20 years old or something at this point. But also this kind of, it almost represents this failed attempt at doing the bigger thing. And then he's wearing that to reclaim it by getting this great shot. At least that's what I read into it.
Nice.
But also he just looks great in orange, so.
That's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
He did look great.
All right. Yeah, should we go into recommendations, Megan?
Sure. Do you have any, Seth, in particular? So I was going to do my little in lieu of a recommendation. I was going to rank my Jordan Peele films.
That's great. Love it. And I think you have a recommendation as well. Do you want to go with that?
I do.
Yes, please.
So my recommendation, in the complete opposite direction of Nope, in terms of a sci-fi with aliens, is Contact, which is 1997. Stars Jodie Foster as a fantastic scientist, and it's based on a novel by Carl Sagan and his wife Andrew Yan. Again, very, very different movie from Nope, but one of my favorite sci-fis, and a very different approach to kind of intelligent life in the universe and how humans would handle encountering it.
I think it's the most realistic. What would actually happen if aliens reached out and we
Good.
respond with it? I think you'd really like that, Megan.
I haven't seen it yet. I have to add it to my list.
Yes, very, very different movie from Nope.
Wow.
Mine's gonna be another horror movie called The Endless, and this is it's largely shot in a place that looks like where Nope is shot, which Anna and I, also being Californians living in Wisconsin now, we're really missing California watching this movie. That's what most of California looks like, folks, if you're not from there. But the Endless is basically two brothers escaped a cult, and when they're like young teens, maybe like even like 12 and 13 or so, and now that they're in their 20s and things aren't going great, the younger brother convinces the other, can't we just go back for one day and just like say hi to our friends? And then this does not go the way you'd expect it to. But the sibling dynamic in Nope was very authentic to me in a way that Endless was as well. And also a kind of fun horror movie that doesn't go the way I expected it to be.
Nice. Is it alien related at all, Seth? Or
kind of in a maybe this is a selling point or not. It's kind of a Lovecraftian cosmic horror thing.
I see. Oh, okay. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, I like the twist of this movie. You really think that it's about one thing, and it is not. It is not. Nice.
Okay, and Megan, and you're going to go off script here.
Script, yes.
Love to see it. Rank those movies.
Here, well, it's probably not going to be. It's pretty straightforward, to be honest, because I do really feel like Jordan has gone from best to I'm not worse than that. Sure. Nope is great. I do agree. Like it's still so amazing that this accomplished filmmaker is like knocking out these hits really well. But for me, they do go in order of how I like them, which is Get Out, then Us, then Nope. So and I'm sure that's going to be like a basic girl choice, but that's me.
I mean, I think that's what's like fun about this is like I like having a director who maybe people can talk about in the same way that like when M. Night Shyamalan first started coming out, he was a household name, bizarrely, you know, in a way that we haven't had a new household name in a while. And I think Jordan Peele, maybe I'm underestimating this just because I'm deep into film and most of my friends are, but like, you know, we could rank his movies and disagree and rank his movies, but his movies are still good. It's not like, well, he really lost his way with Nope or with Us, or he's never made a good movie since Get Out. Like, I don't think anyone's saying that. And this is fun. It's like, I don't think we're anywhere near. I read actually, I guess he initially only planned to do 5 movies, and he has since renounced this idea, which I'm glad he's
Oh,
not
nice.
Tarantino limit on himself, because he's very good at this, and we deserve more than 5
Sure.
movies.
We deserve a few more decades.
Yes, exactly.
Of this work.
Right? I find him very impressive. Like, I think he's done quite a lot for film, actually, in terms of genre bending, first of all, and just also creating the space for specifically Black actors. Like, I think he's pretty adamant that he is going to use Black cast and like Black storylines, which is really amazing to see. So that's been quite the treat in the past, and he's only been doing this since 2017. Like, Get Out came out in 2017.
Nuts,
It's crazy the impact
right?
that it's only 3 movies. It's only 5 years, 6 years. Yeah,
I think he's really become kind of our eminent auteur director at this point,
absolutely.
right? And he's had he's released 3 movies.
Yeah,
which is
That's
crazy.
right.
I don't have a lot of time left, but what was the live experience, the not live, the theater experience for Megan seeing this?
This one was good. I think that it was not. Get Out was just incredible. I'll have to say, like, it's one that I'll just never forget. And like shouting at the screen and just people being so excited, like, and really, really hanging on the edge of your seat. This one was fun because we were really all in for a ride. We did not expect what was going to happen, and I think like the people around me were kind of like, what, like, for a lot of it. And so, and I felt that too, so it was kind of nice to be in the same boat. So that was fun. That was nice.
I think maybe the best audience reaction you and I had was seeing Us, actually.
It's really it's tied so closely between Us and Get Out, because did we see Get Out together?
We did.
Okay. Both movies we saw in like packed theaters, like sold out shows, and so we had roomfuls of people reacting to twists and don't go in there, and people laughing and gasping at the same time, which is so fun and such a wonderful part of the movie going experience. It was a much quieter showing for this one, and I don't know if that's partly just being like on the east side of Milwaukee versus like the Jack London Theater in Oakland.
We did not go to a megaplex to see this. We went to like a smaller theater, and I don't know, maybe it would have been different if we went to like a fuller, bigger theater.
Yes, but still very fun.
I will say it was very surprising to me that like I was laughing profusely that it's like the blow up balloon of Jude, like the cowboy balloon inflatable thing is what destroys the alien, and I thought that was hilarious. And I mean, at least it's great imagery, and like people seem to have almost no reactions to that. How are we not seeing an alien being taken down by like an inflatable,
the dumbest looking thing?
Like, that's great. Like, that's cinema. But
what did you think of that as a contrast to a balloon popping seemed to be the thing that sets off violence?
Exactly. I think that's certainly commentary, right? With the monkey chimp. So,
oh, that's very smart. Oh my god, see all these connections. I'm glad we're talking about it.
Well, and something I liked about, I think Jordan Peele has said this about all his movies, but he definitely said this about this one. Like, if you just want to, and I think we said this in our Mad Max movie, Megan, like, if you just want to watch my horror movie and not think about it, you can do that.
If you just want to eat popcorn and like have a fun time, you can do that with a Jordan Peele movie.
There's definitely things to enjoy here. There's bigger nuggets. I mean, we didn't even address the fact that it opens with a very disturbing quote from the Bible.
The spectacle that really sets the tone.
That does, and that's I had to look it up. That's speaking about Nineveh, with Jonah about to go to that town to save them. So there's a lot of things to dig in here, and I do not watch the UFO videos. I think that's probably a whole other thing to tap into. Like, so much dialogue about that. So
I remember. Sorry, not to backtrack too much, but the chimp attack that was really famous in, I think it was the mid 90s, so almost like the same time they put the sitcom in. And I remember I thought that was interesting because that did definitely stick in my mind when I think Oprah, like many years later, I think this was like 2010 or something, interviewed the woman who survived being mauled and heavily disfigured. And I just remember it was like daytime TV, like Tuesday afternoon, and they're playing the 911 call of her friend calling an ambulance and like screaming, oh my god, she's been killed, like she's been ripped apart, blah blah. And I'm like, oh my god, it's like 3 o'clock on a Tuesday, like this is a lot to have on like a daytime special.
I definitely remember it.
And that was like definitely burned into my brain as like a teenager. And So yeah, that was a very visceral, like pop culture thing that was brought
Sure.
into for sure.
Which
Mhm.
it's very strange because like when they're talking about who do we take the shot to when we're still in early stages of this movie, OJ just says what, like Oprah, and
I didn't even think of
remember, and
that. Oh my
his
god.
sister's like, well, Oprah's not really like the one you go to of alien footage, but fine, sure, yeah, like Oprah, the trusted person, and then
Oh.
and then you keep referring to this as the Oprah shot, like the rest of the movie,
Oh.
which is kind of strange because like Oprah is conjured in this way. We know this
Mhm.
association with the movie. I mean, with the incident, but I thought it was interesting commentary on Saturday Night Live. You know,
Yeah, I agree.
describing the
Mhm.
most insensitive shit you can possibly imagine. And Stephen Yen talking about this, we're like, oh, Chris Kattan's great in the sketch.
That's right.
It's hilarious, and largely because it's so dark of him selling them on, you have to watch this
Oh god.
Retelling
reenactment
of the
this
worst day of
horrible
my
thing
life.
that happened to me.
Well, that was pretty surreal because like Chris Kattan did do a monkey thing like for Saturday Night. Like that was an actual sketch.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
He did,
Wow.
yeah, and it was very disturbing. So, like, well, it was disturbing, like, and meant to be funny, but
Right.
to like the way that they twisted to make it about this
Yeah.
incident is pretty good. But it was very like odd to kind of bring something in that was real life and all these
Right.
like pieces.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was kind of that made it pretty like a surreal feeling. I guess that was kind of
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, like that's I mean, this is why, like, if you just type in "nope" in the Google search bar, you get a lot of, is that show real? Is Gordy real? And all these others.
yeah.
Like, is that quote really from the Bible? And things like this. I'm like, I like Jordan Peele
I
saying
don't know if
people
they can lie about the
do
quote.
research. So
Yep.
I think, that alone is very interesting about the commentary and media. What is our association immediately when we see there's a monkey in a sitcom? Like, oh, funny monkey.
Mhm. Or was it
Yes.
this horrible thing that actually happened?
Right, because like, didn't Friends have a monkey in the show for a while?
I think so.
They
I
had
don't
some
know.
animals. They
Yeah,
had like a
'cause
duck.
there was a line
It was
about
like
there. I think someone says like, "Oh yeah, that's why you can't use chimps anymore." And I don't know the actual date of that, but I'm actually curious. Like, when did we stop using chimps in movies? Because
okay, it was a little capuchin monkey, so not a
Capuchin,
chimp,
okay,
but
that's better.
also
Oh yeah.
like, also still like why?
Yeah, right. So this is tangentially related. Apparently, Kelsey Grammer was never over the dog that played Eddie in Frasier getting more attention than him.
Oh wow.
Not that there was any like vicious problems with the dog, but just again going back to like animals being on a sitcom,
Gotta make that check, folks.
right? And
Uh,
this being very different than Lassie to Gordy.
I do always enjoy dogs in movies or shows though, because
Yeah.
you can always tell, even if they're trying to be super vicious or like they're some kind of husky mix pretending, that's made to be a wolf, you can always tell they're like, they have that tension in their body of like, I'm gonna get a treat. Like if I
Yes.
growl and look scary, I'm gonna get a treat. Like,
The sausage is just off camera.
yes, the sausage is
Right.
just off camera. It's
Yeah.
mine.
That's
Like,
it.
Exactly. Well,
Well,
fantastic. I think we
I know.
talked about this one thoroughly. Megan, can you endorse telling people to go see it? Even
Oh, absolutely. I was gonna say my bottom line is I would say go see it in theaters specifically.
Yeah.
We've done many spoilers, so I have to say spoilers. So,
Yeah.
maybe now it's a little too late, but we should preface it at the beginning too. But yeah, my bottom line is go see it. Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
And I want to thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. It was great having you on.
of course, sorry it took so long, but it was fun.
Well worth the wait. And
It was.
folks, just want to take this chance as well to thank Megan, who always edits our podcasts. I do not thank you often enough for that, so my apologies. But
Oh, Seth,
making this
you thank me often.
happen.
Thank you.
All right, folks, that'll do it for now.
Take care.